Thank you, everybody, for showing up to today's webinar on throughput dollars. If you would, take a second now or as this progresses to type into the chat what you would like to learn about today from a T dollars perspective, or any perspective for that matter, because I don't have a huge presentation prepared for the day, and it's the same one I gave last time. So if you're tuning in for a second time, it'll be a repeat. And so happy to take sidebars and side trips and dig into whatever is interesting the people here today, get the most out of it. So thank you for that introduction. I am Rick Phelps, together with Mark Phelps, my business partner. We bought Ed Hill's business, Synchronous Solutions, a year and a half ago, so that Ed would have a path to retirement, which he is slowly easing onto. He's still an integral part of our business. But Ed was a critical force in this industry in that for 25 years or so, he's been preaching the gospel of throughput dollars. So much so that Action Flow and a couple of other characters have integrated T dollars into their software. The challenge is just because it's in the software doesn't mean folks know how to use it. And so the purpose of us teaming up, and by us, I mean all of us, Roderick and Fabricating Choice, good folks at Fabricators Choice, and ourselves and Action Flow, work collectively together to help clients get the most out of their business and the most out of their software, the most out of their people. There's a great synergy between the three companies, and that's what I love about this team. So that's a little bit about me, enough about me. Let's talk a little bit about our business. So we have a set of core beliefs that are important to understand because it's integral to why we do what we do and how we do what we do. The first core belief is that people are fundamentally good, and folks come to work to be successful. And whether or not they are successful depends a lot about how the business is managed and led. But I've only, in the thousands and thousands of people that I've met, only ever met one who didn't come to work wanting to be successful. I've run into hundreds and hundreds of people who were disgruntled and pissed off, largely because they wanted to be successful and they weren't set up for success. Second thing is that every conflict can be resolved and can be resolved successfully. And so
we're not seeing your screen.
Why not?
I'm seeing your screen.
I am too.
Oh, my bad. I'll be quiet.
I see it. Well, if anybody's not seeing the screen, let us know. Otherwise,
That was my fault. That was my fault.
Into the void. Every conflict can be resolved. There is a way to create a win-win solution for everything we find, and so it's always interesting to dig into what's challenging a company to find out how it can be a success for all involved. Every situation, no matter how complex, can be no matter how complex it seems, is actually fundamentally simple. And that's because of the concepts of theory of constraints, of the idea of a constraint, and it connects directly to T dollars. And every situation can be substantially improved. So wherever your business is today, whatever your implementation of Action Flow is today, you can take it a significant level up if you just apply yourself. And so with these in mind, let's talk about the logic, science, and mathematics behind every business. So Synchronous Solutions helps businesses really understand how businesses make money. I mean, as crazy as that sounds, most businesses that I've encountered, and I've encountered many hundreds through my career, from billions of dollar companies to little startups, the vast majority really didn't connect the dots properly on how they made money. And so I'm going to be showing you some very complex diagrams of how many businesses make money here in a second. So you can understand why people get confused. All right, so every situation, no matter how complex it initially looks, is fundamentally simple. So if we have a business, there's your fabricating shop. The goal of that business is hopefully to maximize the conversion of revenue into profits. Everybody's in business for profits, right? So how do you do that? Well, here's that complex diagram of how businesses make money. Right? We get revenue coming in. Some stuff goes out the door immediately. Never was your money. That's the money you use to buy slabs and sinks and corbels and all the things that you buy to convert into countertops, right? And so there's some roughly 35% of the revenue that comes into a business goes right back out the door. It's not your money. The money that stays in the business we call throughput dollars. And across the industry, on average, it's 65%. I've seen that number as high as 80 and as low as 50. So it depends on your market and how effectively you market and sell your products. But that business, that money flows in, and it flows into a bucket. And I think the bucket is a real good visual for the bucket load of bills you guys have to pay every month before you make any money. And so the T dollars flow in and they fill up the bucket. And all the T dollars at the beginning are all about filling the bucket, right? So the first, I don't know, 16, 17, 18, 19, 20, 21 days of the month, all that T dollars is going into the bucket. You haven't made a penny of profits yet. But finally, you hit that point where it starts to overflow. And now you're making money. And this, this picture, this is the picture that most people get wrong. They want to make things a whole lot more complicated than this. But the reality is, if you can simplify the way you look at your business to a bucket and a spigot, you'll be infinitely better off than if you try and complicate things. So what does this imply about your business? Well, if you know how big your bucket is of bills, and the bucket of bills in the business never changes very much month to month. Now, over time, it can grow, and month to month, it'll fluctuate. But by and large, it's going to fluctuate around an average that's predictable. And then you're going to spend some money or invest in new people or new machines. You're going to take a little step up, but then it's going to be stable again. And so because of that, and because you can decide how much money you want to make, you can figure out how many T dollars per day it's going to take to fill the bucket and overflow it, the amount that you want to overflow. And that's called throughput dollars, or throughput dollars per day. It's the #1 metric of every business. You need to know how many throughput dollars are staying in your business and flowing out the other end every single day. And so we put a flow meter on our pipe to represent the fact that we are measuring T dollars. And this is something that Action Flow does extremely well, assuming you turn it on, right? So if you have that capability turned on, then it tells you how much T dollars associated with every job, and it accumulates it for every day and every week, and stores it for management later for analysis. So great service our friends at Action Flow have done for you to make this automated. Right. So we put a flow meter in the business, and we can take this monthly bucket of bills and say, you know, kind of hard to deal with a monthly bucket of bills. Let's break that into 20 separate pails. And I choose 20 because the shortest month of the year has 20 days in it, working days. Right? And so if you can figure out this picture for a 20-day working month and get it to the profitability level you want, you're going to do yourself a huge favor, because most months have more than 20 days. Right? You get 21, 22, or 23 days, often in March and August. So we can figure out how big each of these little buckets are, and then that metric, T dollars per day, becomes really relevant, because if you fill the bucket up each day and overflow it a little bit, that the T dollars per day are greater than the sum of the 20 buckets. If you overflow each day, you can track how much that is, and you can know exactly whether you're on track to make money or you're on track to lose money. You do not have to wait in your business for 2 or 3 weeks into the next month for your accountant or your controller to produce your profit and loss statement to say, guess what? You didn't make any money last month. Or guess what? You made money last week. You know that every day of the month when you use T dollars. And that's an important number to know. And so being able to predict what your net profit is starting day 1 and all the way through day 31 of the month is a huge advantage, because if you're not doing well in the beginning of the month, you still have time to catch up. Ain't squat you can do 3 weeks into the next month about what happened last month. So it's not particularly useful to be running your business off financial statements, which unfortunately is why many, many business owners, particularly the small ones, don't even bother to look at their financial statements, which is a different kind of mistake, but that's outside of today's topics. So we have T dollars per day. We want to overflow those. And the last couple of buckets are the ones that are overflowing, right? So for 18 days in this picture, you are not making any money. And then the 19th and 20th days, that's where all your profits come from. And so that's an important way of thinking about your business. One of the things you want to do is to increase that flow rate so that that green box, that it goes back, and so you start making money on the 17th day and the 16th day. We have clients that go into the black on the 15th day of the month, 14th day of the month. Think about the implications of that. That's huge, right? We also have clients that, it's 11 p.m. on the 20th day that it starts overflowing, or that's where they start at least. And we work to get them to get that break-even point earlier and earlier through the process of synchronous flow. All right, so we have this monthly bucket of bills. Second thing we want to do with T dollars is move that gauge down to the pinch point, the constraint of your process. Really important that you choose where your constraint is going to be as you're growing business and monitor the rate at which jobs produce T dollars. And so now instead of T dollars per day, we're talking about T dollars per minute, which is also referred to in some circles as octane, and Action Flow calculates octane for you, which is phenomenal. The only system that does it that I'm aware of. So T dollars per minute is a metric of jobs, because jobs are flowing through your pipe, and it's accumulation of some number of jobs each day that are going to hit your T dollars per day. And so this metric at the job level and aggregated up into the market level gives you incredible clarity into how your business is or isn't making money and what it can do about it. And so each market that you're serving flows at a different T dollar rate. If you think about it, if you're dealing with the home centers like Home Depot or Lowe's or IKEA or Costco, they're an intermediary that's taking a significant chunk of the profit out of the jobs. So you're starting from a lower level. And so the T dollars per minute for those home center jobs is probably the lowest rate you're going to see. Then builders, then K&Ds, and the most lucrative jobs are the retail, because you're not sharing the profits with anybody else. And understanding the rates, different rates at which each market flows, is critical to understanding how your business is making money and how you might want to grow your business. Right? We have seen folks take on a lot of extra home center work, which is the lower, slower flowing jobs, and all of a sudden drive their profitability way down. And so you can see that coming and either not do it or do the systems compensation, the equipment and the processes and the people required to get yourself back into profitability proactively, rather than a few months into it saying, well, damn, we're not making as much money as we used to. I wonder why that is. Well, It's because the flow rates have changed. The overall flow rate of your business in T dollars per day has gone down because you have slower flowing markets. Right? So knowing that number is really important. Getting it to flow as close to the capacity of your pipe is how you maximize the capacity of your business. And Action Flow is perfectly set up to monitor that when you know what your capacity is. We usually do that in terms of T dollars. In the future, we're going to do it in terms of constraint minutes, which, by the way, Action Flow is the only software right now that facilitates that. You can precisely get the flow of money through your shop in the form of the T dollars that each job is carrying to maximize your business. And that is a unique capability and something that the folks at Action Flow deserve great credit for. Once you get your business and the pipe flowing and you've got enough work coming in the front end, the next thing you're gonna do is elevate your constraint, raise that puppy up, and that gives you opportunities. Right? So what are you gonna fill that with? And that's a great question, because it all depends on where the opportunities are in the markets you're serving and what the implications of that going to be. So if you can increase your capacity without spending a lot of money, without increasing the size of the OE bucket, then you can sell that extra capacity for almost any price and add more profit to your business. And this is a huge insight for businesses. If you can make money at this level, then whatever's flowing up here in your extra capacity, whatever T dollars they're contributing, that's windfall. That's gravy on top of it. And that's how those companies, those bigger companies that are reaching their tentacles out into your markets, that's how they're doing it. They're leveraging their extra capacity and selling at a discount outside their normal markets. And so when you understand how T dollars flow through your business and how the markets and all that come together, you get great insights on how you can make money, how you should make money. And that it. Let me look at, I've got the chat open. We got an AI going. It says, Rick, can you dive into which jobs to accept that we covered at the Action Flow in Action?
Yeah, we were talking about at the Action Flow in Action, we were talking about maybe accepting job, getting to a point where you're overflowing your T dollars by, it may not, I'm trying to like, do you remember that conversation where we were talking about, you know, you look at your capacity and then how much T dollars you need, and then, you know, it may be a smaller, to use a bad word, margin on there, but with the T dollars that you need to reach your goal to achieve a profit.
Yeah,
it gives you.
I won't make you struggle any longer there.
Okay, thank you.
All
Appreciate
right.
that.
So, if we look back in this diagram, can you see my mouse?
Yep.
I'm assuming you can. Okay. So this is. Let's suppose these jobs are flowing at a rate that gives you. Let's make up some numbers. Let's suppose those jobs are flowing at 2% profit. It's not how it works, but we can get away with that. So this is flowing at 2% of profit. This is flowing at 8%. This is flowing at 12%, and this is flowing at 20%. Right? And you aggregate all that together, and the math works out to, let's say, 10%. Okay? So if all of this, the color, the rainbow work here, is getting you 10% net profit, and you're happy with that, and you have this great capacity, right, that you can do whatever you want with it. So let's suppose to just break, if you were flowing exactly at the rate to fill the bucket up exactly, let's suppose that was flowing at $10 a minute, just to pick a number out of the air. What number, how low would you go in the gray zone and still make money? So if $10 a minute just fills the bucket, if the whole system were flowing at $10 a minute, and you could figure out how many dollars per minute a job flowed at as you were quoting it, how low would you go? That's a question. Somebody needs to unmute themselves and answer it. Theoretically, we're going to go down the theory rat hole first, and then we'll talk about what's really practical. What is the gray zone flowing at currently? Let's start simple.
Zero.
Zero. Who can think of a number bigger than zero?
1.
So it's flowing at $0 per minute, right? So $1 a minute, which is 1/10 of the rate to make money, and we fill the gray zone up. And let's suppose that represents 100 minutes. How much more money would you make if it was flowing at $1 a minute and you had 100 minutes worth of that flow?
$100.
$100. So $100 just went to your bottom line that did.
Mm-hmm.
So you basically gave the work away and you still made more money. Isn't that interesting? Now, you would never go that low, right? There would absolutely be no reason to do that. People would look at you like you're insane, and you would be. Right? But you could literally run the work at a price in the gray zone, as long as you don't do it in your own market, right? Don't crap in your backyard here. As long as you do it somewhere else, or you do it in a business that you don't have any business with, you can practically give you can give them the mafia deal. Here, for the next 6 months, and it's got to be limited, right? You're not going to do this forever. For the next 6 months, we're going to sell it to you at this ridiculous rate. So you get to experience our amazing service and quality, right? And so all of a sudden you get another client, you got more profits,
Mm-hmm.
and you got a new client. And then when the 6 months are up or the 3 months are up, whatever that window is, and you start raising the prices up to a reasonable level, and you got another client, and all of a sudden, boom, you're making big money.
Mm-hmm.
And you did it by basically buying customers. And anybody who's out there that's having a price or having people come from outside with prices, and you're looking at it and going, there's no freaking way they're making money at that rate. And I'm sure there are people on this call who have said that when they've learned the dollar value that they lost a quote on. Well, this is how that happened. The business is making money in their home markets or in their current book of business, and they want your business, so they're going to come in there, they're going to play hardball. That's how this works. And that's why it's so important to understand T dollars, your capacity of the pipe in minutes, and what every job flows at. And there's one software package that does that, and that's Action Flow.
Rick, I'm going to interject here. This is Roderick.
I see you.
Hello. So your presentation brings up a couple of very important points. I just wanted to drive a few of them home for you here.
Please.
One of the things that a lot of companies really drive hard, and they're really taskmasters and watchdogs over the margin. So action flow in the area, as well as potentially on the job summary row, depending if you have that turned on or not, will allow you to monitor the margin of your jobs and areas. And a lot of the companies I work with, the margin is very much indicative of whether the individual will get any bonus points at the end of the month or commission or whatever they get. And sometimes they're not even allowed to accept those jobs and areas if the margin falls below a certain number.
Yep.
And what I want you to understand, those that have kind of gone through this with Rick, maybe once or twice or 3 times, is margin is not where it's at. Margin is a metric that you can look at, but it shouldn't be your final metric to determine if you want to move forward with that particular job or area or project. And that takes me to my second point, which is that word octane, which is glaring at us in the middle of that screen there. Rick and I both have a mutual dislike for that from the standpoint of how it was calculated and computed in past days, but Rick has come up with a very clever way to bring that to a more modern level. And unfortunately, in action flow, there's no switch that says, hey, I want to do octane. There is a fair amount of preliminary work that has to take place in order to activate the $T constraint and octane values. And we did a workshop, a joint workshop actually in Detroit, in Michigan with Blasius recently at the workshop there. And what we found is that Rick presented something similar to what you're seeing today, and I was presenting a topic and really had no idea what the connection between what Rick and I were presenting, but it was a concert made in heaven because my presentation and his dovetailed really, really well. And so my presentation was about what's called hourly definitions. And hourly definitions let you define on all of your jobs and actions is what the time takes to do an action based upon what's going on when you add those lines in your area. So an example is you're going to be producing a top with an OG edge, and say you've got 100 linear inches of OG edge. We're going to be able to define how long that's going to take to go through your production facility based upon whatever machines or whatever actions contribute to producing that edge. So most often it's going to be, in this case, a CNC, and you might have some hand polishing that goes along with it. But if you have a sink, the sink usually entails the saw, the CNC, a water jet potentially, hand polishing, and then most importantly, some install components as well. So what I'm going to do is strongly recommend that anybody who's interested in attending the session that we're doing in Florida coming up in September, the one that Josiah put in the chat, the link there, that's going to be one of my presentation points is hourly definitions, which ultimately is octane, which ultimately also deals with the constraint and how to define that. So the three topics together in concert with what Rick is presenting, and I'm sure he's going to be working with me in September as well, and we'll do a joint session on what you've just seen here, but how to really activate that in action flow. And again, just want to make sure everybody understands there's not a little flick of a switch that turns on octane. There's a fair amount of work to get it to that point, but it is definitely worth the time and energy to get it to that level.
That is absolutely true. I will be in Florida with Roderick and the folks from Action Flow, and we will absolutely be talking about how to generate this level of insight into your business with the tools you guys have with Action Flow.
Yep. Thank you.
So Roderick's example of people getting bonused on margins. So we had somebody who had a minimum margin he had to maintain for the month, and let's just say it was 60%. I don't remember what it was, and if it dropped below that, he didn't make any money or he didn't get his bonus or whatever. And he was able to use this thinking and get a large commercial job and sell it at a margin of 45%, which is a loser, right? And put over $100,000 to his bottom line that month. And by the way, dropped his average below the bonus level. So he didn't get his bonus, and the company made over $100,000 extra dollars in net profit. That's how wrong building your business around margin is. It is not even close to being how you want to run your business. It will lead you astray and screw your business up from one end to the other. So beware. There is an inherent simplicity in how a business is put together and makes money, and it's the bucket and the spigots, folks. There's just, you can do a lot of things to try and make it more complicated, but at the end of the day, it really is always about thinking about how to simplify it. And the team at Action Flow and Fab's Choice and Synchronous Solutions are teaming up to make sure you have the ability to do that in your business every day.
Yeah. I just wanted to add, for anyone who's not using Action Flow right now that's on this call, and all the $T functionalities that we have, turning on $T to quote and all that is actually not too hard. It's just a flip of a switch and, take your sales price minus your materials, and Action Flow is able to calculate that. And then when you schedule those jobs, those $T amounts for each one of those jobs shows up on the schedule. It's just coming up on there. And then I think Roger Gordy alluded to this, to really get into the nitty gritty, like the senior level class is the hourly definitions to figure out your octane, and run those, be able to run octane reports on different dealers and all that capability. That requires the hourly definitions piece, where you might have to do some time studies, figure out how long it takes you to apply this edge or run it on this CNC and do all that. But once you get that, the transparency that you have in your business, and what Rick was just alluding to plan for profit and see that at the beginning of the day, is huge.
Yep.
And so the three of us working together to try and continue to spread that Synchronous Solutions gospel everywhere is a big part of why we're doing this.
Excellent. So back to the core values, you can see how every one of these connect, and how when you're with us down in, where's that, Jacksonville?
Yep.
Jacksonville, Florida. That's right. I flew to the wrong place last time I went down there. Jacksonville, Florida. It's about finding the win-win solution and really substantially improving your business. If you're not in Jacksonville, shame on you.
And if you want more like overview video of the $T functionalities in Action Flow, just drop your name in the chat and we'll have a video that we can send out to everyone that kind of captures all those core $T functionalities.
I will also just plan on putting that link in the recap email for this as well.
The Jacksonville one.
The Jacksonville link and the $T, like the $T overview
Yep.
in Action Flow.
Okay.
Cool.
Perfect.
Any questions from the audience? You undo your mic and ask. Well, you got us for another couple of minutes at least. Or we'll give you time back on your day.
Sure. Raucous crowd.
Going once. All right.
Either put them all to sleep or bored them to death. I'm not sure which.
Or you blew their minds and they're.
Or I blew their minds. I'll go with that one.
Yeah.
Anyone wants to reach out, just follow the QR code there, and you can visit our website. You can sign up for our newsletter or schedule a call. And best, let's talk in person over a beer in Jacksonville. But you buy.
We'll cover it. We'll cover those drinks. So.
Actually,
All
I think Roderick and I cover it, to be technically correct here.
Oh, that's probably yeah. Yeah, that's probably true.
All right, so I'll buy
All right.
beer.
All right, it's on you. Love it. All right, cool.
Thank you.
Well, thanks everyone, and
Thanks, Rick.
yeah, thank you, Rick. And
Absolutely.
we look forward to seeing everyone soon in Jacksonville. All right.